Okay. Well, it looks like we might be live. Okay. That's great. This is my second live today, but there's a reason why I wanted to do this live. Actually, two reasons. Number one, you can probably see I'm on my laptop. Okay. And for the last few sermons, my mic on my laptop has not been picking up the sound very well. And if you see me in my office, I've got the boom mic. It's done really nice. And I said, I've had enough of this. I can't seem to fix my mic on my laptop. So I went ahead and bought a cheap mic. Here it is. And it looks like it's working well. So that's a good thing. Now, um, what do I want to talk about? About 2 years ago, I did a video, and that video I took down. And oh, greetings from Yakima, Washington. Well, and the reason why I took that video down is because I said one word at the end, and that one word could. And after having it up for a while, I had some friends talk with me, and they said, you could, this could look like date setting. And I said, you know what? You're right. It could be. And I took it down because I don't want to be a date setter. Um, so what I'm sharing with you is a theory. Okay. And I'll tell you how I came upon this theory. At my last church, I spent 2 years teaching verse by verse through the book of Jeremiah. I did that one too, through the book of Genesis. Okay. And we got to the part where that Abraham circumcised Ishmael when Ishmael was 13 years old. So, why is it important to know how old Ishmael was? And some, no, that's not it. Ishmael is the head of the Arabs, right? The Arab nations, they don't do bar mitzvahs. So, why is it important to know? Well, what happened a year after Ishmael was circumcised? Isaac was born. Isaac is the son of promise. Um, he's a type of Christ. He came from a quote unquote virgin birth. You know, Sarah was not a virgin. Okay, that's not what I'm saying, but she was 90 years old. It was impossible for her to have a baby, right? So it showing this uh, son of promise, and the Messiah will end up coming through him, right? And we see a 14 there. Now, I'm not into numerology. This isn't numerology. This is, hey, you see a number, you see something about Christ. You see the same number, you see something about Christ. And so the first 14 is Ishmael was 14 years old when the type of Christ, Isaac, the first one ever to be circumcised on the eighth day, is born. 14 years old. Where's the second 14? Well, that's Passover. Uh, Passover is to be celebrated on the 14th day of the month of Nisan. What does Passover represent? Well, Passover represents the crucifixion, kind of like the birth of Christ, if you will, kind of thing, like a foreshadowing of the birth of Christ on the first 14. We see the foreshadowing of the crucifixion of Christ on the second. 14. Well, where is the next 14? Well, there's three of them in a row. And that's in the genealogy of Matthew. Okay, in Matthew, not of Matthew, in Matthew. And we see at the end of that genealogy, it said from Abraham to David, 14 generations. Okay, this is huge. This is huge. Abraham was given the Abrahamic covenant. Okay, I'm going to give you this land, seed, you know, the Messiah is going to come from you, and blessing, right? Whoever blesses you, I'll bless. Whoever curses you, I'll curse, and you will be a blessing to the nations, to the world. The whole world will be blessed through you. So you have the Abrahamic covenant. 14 generations later, you have King David. And with that, you have the Davidic covenant. What's the Davidic covenant? Well, that's for 2 Samuel chapter 7. And Jesus or on your throne, David. An eternal king will sit on your throne. That's a messianic thing. Again, okay, so 14 generations. So that's the third 14 is Abraham to David. The fourth 14 is from David to Babylon. Well, what does Babylon represent? Well, I spent 2 years teaching verse by verse through Jeremiah. And in Jeremiah, God says 3 times he's going to pour his wrath on the city of Jerusalem. And whoever stays in Jerusalem will die by sword, famine, and pestilence. That sure sounds like the fourth seal, doesn't it? And a quarter of the earth was killed by sword, famine, pestilence, and wild beasts. That's the wrath of God coming down. But then 3 times he also says, but whoever willingly goes to Babylon will save their lives as a prize of war. That's interesting. So what does Babylon represent? Well, they were to be in Babylon for 70 years and then come back. You take a 0 off the 70, you have 7. Like the 7-year Great Tribulation. The wrath, you escape the wrath, you come back. So let's break this down. The first 14 is Isaac, a type of Christ, the birth of a type of Christ. The second 14 is Passover. Okay, Passover is the crucifixion of Christ or foreshadowing it. The third 14 is Abrahamic covenant to Davidic covenant. The fourth 14 is Davidic covenant to Babylon, which represents rapture. The fifth 14 is 14 generations from Babylon to Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the first coming. That's 5 14s. Where's the sixth 14? Well, the sixth 14 is in the Bible, kind of. Kind of. What do I mean, kind of? Well, yeah, Carolyn. Carolyn says 14, 47. I can't keep up with all the numbers. Okay, the 614 is in Isaiah 66. And you're going to say there's no 14 in Isaiah 66. No, there's not. Well, in Isaiah 66, God asks a rhetorical question. And was reborn on a day. And what day was Israel reborn? May 14th. That's your 6th, 1948. Where's the 7th 14? Well, the 7th 14 is kind of in the Bible, like Israel becoming a nation, but it's not definitive. What do you mean? Matthew 24. Jesus talks about the fig tree parable. Okay. Let me put it to you in layman's terms. The generation that sees Israel become a nation shall not pass away until Jesus returns. Okay, well, that nation, Israel, became a nation in 1948. Israel is now 77 years old. And when I taught this in my Genesis study, because it blew my mind, at that time, I said, you know what? If that's the last generation, or that generation will not pass away, we have to look at, hey, how many prime ministers has Israel had? And at that time, it was 13. And right now, we're at the 14th prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. And this is where I got in trouble. And some friends said, you know, Jason, your date's setting here because you said I guarantee. And I'm not guaranteeing this. I'm going to say it's a theory. Really good. The next election for prime minister of Israel is November of 2026. Could it be? You know, since God speaks in sevens, and we have the number 14 beside all of this stuff regarding Jesus, right? Because Jesus is going to return during the lifespan of that generation. And we see how many prime ministers they've had. My theory is the rapture window closes November 2026. Now, with everything that we've been seeing, I don't think we're going to get out of 2025. And I think that we see through all of this, God shows the window and says, you're somewhere near the end. And this year, we have Israel as a nation for 77 years. And Jacob met Rachel when he was 77. He married Leah and Rachel at 84. We've got so much going on right now with biblical prophecies. And he married Leah 7 days before he married Rachel and had to work another 7 years for Rachel. You see all that. So yeah, that's why I wanted to quickly do this live. I wanted to make sure, first of all, that my mic's working and that you guys can hear me. And just type in the comments if you can hear me well or not. Is it low like it has been the last 2 Sundays, or is it normal? What do you guys have there? Can you guys hear me at all? Can you type in the comments? You can hear me fine? Okay. Well, that's my 714s. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's definitely a good theory, and I think that we'll be out of here, I think, much before November of 2026. You guys have yourselves a great night. We'll talk soon.